Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Climate Change and Nature Recovery Service Transformation Committee. We'll start off with apologies for absence. I know we're a bit thin on the ground today.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies from Councillors Rebecca Fogarty, David Phillips, Stuart Rice, Angela O'Connor, Andrew Stevens, and David Hopkins.
Okay, thank you. And any disclosures of personal or prejudicial interests? No. Okay, well, we'll continue then to the minutes of the previous meeting. Can I have any comments or somebody to approve the minutes? Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And seconded. Thank you, Councillor Keaton. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 4, corporate sustainable transport strategy. Who is going to be leading on this item? Brilliant, thank you.
The report was circulated last week, so we've all had a chance to have a look through it. Essentially, back in 2020, a report went to Cabinet that recommended a series of measures to help deliver on the Council's climate emergency declaration. One of the key things to come out of that was to review all the current policy framework, which was a lot of policy. I mean, in the hundreds. And look to establish how those policies we could contribute to achieving our sort of net zero aims. I think we distilled it down to kind of 8 key themes, of which transport was one of them. In combination with that, in 2021, I think it was, the Welsh Government brought out their Llwybr Newydd, the new Welsh transport strategy, and that focuses on Welsh Government's vision as to how it's going to help deliver Wales's priorities, and it focuses primarily on sustainable options for people, for businesses. We've all seen the sustainable travel hierarchy, which starts with sort of walking and cycling at the top and then funnels down through public transport, low emission vehicles, and then to sort of other private vehicles at the bottom in terms of where we should be focusing our efforts. We have a very well-established regional group, the 4 South West Wales authorities. We work together on the sort of regional transport projects to help sort of connectivity in the region, and maximise opportunities for sustainable travel in the whole of South West Wales. I mean, we've recently started working on the new regional transport plan, a delivery plan to deliver the plan. It's going to CJ. Has been to CJC. Been to CJC?
Not yet.
Not yet. Next week. That's it. And yeah, and I think the key deliverable out of that, it's quite quick. It's January next year. Is the first time we need to be presenting stuff in terms of some actual output from the plan to the CJC. So the timescales are very tight on that, but we are geared up to that. Locally, Swansea Council signed the Swansea Bay Healthy Travel Charter. That came out May last year, 2022. Yeah. There's a series of actions in there that it's sort of 10 or 11 organisations within the council have signed up to, looking at commitment to promoting walking, cycling, public transport, ultra low emission vehicle use across the region, looking at establishing a network of sustainable travel champions within each organisation, and then looking at sort of targeted communication and campaigns for staff to show what options are available, promote cycle to work, promote public transport use through discounts, promote walking, that kind of thing, and look at how organisations can work collaboratively to help that. So back to the sustainable travel strategy, the vision of the strategy which we worked on last year, I think we discussed it at a previous committee meeting, was to sort of set out how in both the medium and long terms the council will achieve its net zero commitments through actions across its transport activities, the transport sector, and by championing sustainable transport solutions and climate action with relevant stakeholders across all sectors. Now, essentially, what that means is we will look at what we do as a council, what we do when we're conducting our business, what our staff do when they're getting to and from work, in terms of reducing our carbon footprint to help the council meet its 2030 obligations. And then outside of that, we look to our suppliers, our partner organisations, and to look what we as a council can do to help them, so we can all meet our 2050 obligations. So the overriding strategy has set up 3 key objectives. Number 1 was to reduce carbon and other damaging emissions, as well as energy consumption associated with all council transport activities. That's a 2030 target. To utilise more environmentally friendly modes of transport in all our own operations and encourage this amongst both staff and suppliers when travelling to or from or undertaking council business to drive down our carbon footprint. And to adopt a regional transport plan and continue to work with Welsh Government, regional and private partners to develop and promote more sustainable transport options across the county and the region. That's our 2050 target. In order to help us meet our objectives, the Sustainable Transport Strategy contains an action plan, and that's split up into various different items. First will be corporate items, and this is things that apply to the council as a whole, corporately, across all departments and across all staff. Then we try and drill down into sort of more departmental measures, and these are sort of more a series of principles, I suppose, that departments could adopt when developing transport services and anything that's relevant to their own business. And because the council is a massive organisation, and the needs of all the departments are very, very different. And then we look at specific transport objectives. And that will be objectives to be delivered by those responsible for transport planning and also those responsible for council fleet. So not just the council-owned fleet, also the grey fleet. This is the sort of business use of private car. So within the action plan, we would look to each of those 3 key work areas. The sort of corporate side of things is a high-level sustainable transport strategy, which this is. It's intended to be a very high-level, a high-level strategy from which other strands will drop off. I mean, as part of this committee, you'll review the strategy, you'll decide which particular elements you want to take forward, which you're interested in, which we need to do more work and that kind of thing, and then that will allow us to drill down into the individual deliverable things that will come out of it, because obviously it's quite an unwieldy thing, isn't it? The transport strategy is very big, it's very broad, and it needs more discussion and more refinement to come up with something which is actually deliverable and actually measurable. So to that end, we have started off with a member and staff travel survey. That's gone out to staff, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes. Needs to go to the members, I think, because the members don't have access. It's on the intranet, isn't it? Yeah. And then we look at council-wide travel plans and a review of the grey fleet. That's business use of personal vehicles. So what's the most efficient way of conducting our business in order to minimise our carbon footprint? Then sort of departmental, as I said, everything's different. So you'd look at premises, where departments are located, staff, procurement within what we do conducting our business, any goods and materials, any transport services we use from internally, and then you get to the transport specific, which is really highways and transportation, who are responsible for transport planning, the RTP, and the central transport unit, who are responsible for the council fleet. there's a large amount of work has already been carried out on this, in looking to bring together a single overarching strategy to address all aspects of our business, and then we would then really look to pass it over to the committee to discuss and try and frame which way where we go next, isn't it? Depending on where your priorities lie and what you think are the most important things that we need to be looking at. So thank you, Chair. I'll pass it over there. And any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, great. Any questions from members? No. Councillor Lewis, did you want to make a comment on the report?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you to Matt. And also we've got Mark Barrow online as well. So it is going to be a challenge for us. There are certain things which are within our control. Obviously, when contracts roll over with the council fleet, we have an opportunity to go greener, but we do need to also understand the challenge that sits with that in terms of charging infrastructure and having the necessary infrastructure. There's also a challenge for us in terms of when staff take vehicles home, and if they can't charge at home, or if they can charge at home, how do we manage the recharge on that? So we're looking at all the aspects of that as well. In addition to that, we've got, through the Climate Change and Nature Recovery Board, some money set aside looking at the grey fleet and mapping where the grey fleet are operating currently, in order to carefully put some EV charge pool cars within the community, and understanding the best locations for those cars, so that members of staff can go to the pool car, pick it up, and reduce the journey to do that, in order for us to encourage people to use green pool cars wherever they possibly can. There's also an extensive programme in terms of fleet renewal. So we've got some vehicles coming online, and if the committee are interested, I'm sure Mark Barrow can give some background to that. But my last count, and I'm sure Mark will correct me, I think we had around 950 vehicle strong fleet as a local authority. We are the largest EV owning fleet in terms of the 22 local authorities. So we've got a very strong track record. However, cautiously, I would say, we're also keeping an eye on the hydrogen vehicles, which will be coming forward over the coming years. So it's not just going to be electric vehicles, particularly when we look at our larger vehicles in terms of our refuse vehicles, as an example. The market isn't there yet, but when we take our contracts, we have an eye on the future and what that market could look like. So it is an evolving piece, and we do need to actively encourage our staff to go green, but we do also need to recognise that to do so, it is more expensive at the moment, and we hope that car manufacturers, by economies of scale, those vehicles will come down in price, become more affordable. But we are mindful. So, for example, we've got the staff benefits scheme, where people can do salary sacrifice. They can use salary sacrifice to take out electric bikes and pay for that in installments, or they can take it out to buy an electric car. So there are incentives there, but it will take time for those to grow. And this is where the member and staff travel survey is really critically important, to give us an understanding of what the appetite is for people to go green, what are the barriers and challenges for them to go green. And so when we get that feedback, we can feed that into our planning in terms of trying to actively encourage our workforce to take on that challenge. And in addition to that, we're also working through the Public Service Board with our partners to encourage them to do the same with their climate and nature recovery action plans as well, for their staff and their fleets. So it's a mammoth task, which cannot be underestimated, but nevertheless, it is something that we do need to address and work towards. And we do focus very much on any grants which become available, particularly when it comes to purchase of green vehicles or the green infrastructure as a council, but also in terms of the publicly accessible green infrastructure as well. So I'll stop there, Chair, but hopefully, the committee will get a sense of, the significant challenge that we have. But I'm really pleased that we've got a really good team to help us try and move things forward, if you pardon the pun. And so, you know, the action plan is there, the thought is there. As you mentioned earlier, sincere apologies from Councillor Andrew Stevens. He will be representing us on the CJC Regional Transport Strand, and I then sit on the Regional Energy Strand with the Corporate Joint Committee, which of course goes hand in glove. So happy to pause there, and I'm more than happy to take any questions, but we've got officers there for any technical ones as well.
And do we have any questions on Councillor Lewis's? Councillor Keaton?
Hi, question for Councillor Lewis. How much more expensive are the hydrogen replacements as opposed to electric with the heavy vehicles? Are they considerably more expensive at the moment? And where would we refuel them? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Keaton. They're both very relevant points. Mark will no doubt absolutely confirm, but my understanding is they're about 4 times the cost of a current refuse vehicle at the moment, and we do not, at this point, have the infrastructure to refuel hydrogen vehicles. We do have at Bangor Energy Park a hydrogen fueling station, but there it's not manned, and I dare say it's not very reliable. And then we've got, I think the closest one then, again, Mark could correct me, I think is Milford Haven. So it's a considerable distance from us. So if we are going to do hydrogen, and I do believe the market will catch up, and we will get to a stage where we're looking at particularly our larger vehicles and our refuse vehicles, but the market and the infrastructure is simply not there right now.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Stuart, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just to confirm, really, the costs, I'm not sure Mark Barry would be able to confirm, but they're certainly, you know, substantially more expensive. What the opportunity, I think, for us is that the Welsh Government are progressing with the hydrogen bus trial, and that they're very much looking to secure a kind of a supply of hydrogen, reliable hydrogen in terms of as part of that, so that will come along with there. So and hopefully the timing will work quite well. But I think the opportunity is there. As Councillor Lewis said, there's certainly a demand when it comes to the larger vehicles. It looks like it will be a bit of a mixed economy with the larger, a bit more hydrogen fueled and electric. So thank you.
Thanks, Stuart. Any other questions or comments? No. I just wanted to ask something myself about, do we have any idea on, or can we get some figures on where the proportions of emissions are within our strategy? So what sort of percentage is produced by the green fleet? What sort of percentage is produced by the grey fleet? Do we know where the biggest areas that we need to tackle are?
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, they were all listed in the December 20 Cabinet report. I think it was 70% was buildings, and I think about 20% was fleet of that order. Our fleet, yes, not grey fleet. And then another 7 or 8% was grey fleet on top, wasn't it? So it's significant. About a quarter of all, more than a quarter of all our emissions are transport related.
And are we able to monitor the effectiveness of some of our schemes, like the different things that we're putting in place to encourage staff to take up more emission-friendly modes of transport? Is there any ongoing monitoring with that?
I think it's expected that we will continue to run the sort of staff travel survey as a sort of almost a live survey. We'll run it regularly to see whether people's habits are changing. and what people are doing. Obviously, when it comes to things like grey fleet and people, claiming mileage expense and like, I think that's very easy to monitor because we can see exactly what's coming in and going out.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Any further questions or comments from other committee members? Great. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to the recommendation. Okay, so if the committee are happy to note and recommend the strategy going forwards? Right. Okay, brilliant, thank you. Okay, so moving on to the work plan for 23-24. We will be next meeting on the 11th of December. We will be looking at the Swansea 2050 and local area energy plan. Are there any other comments or questions on the work plan going forwards? No? Okay, or any other items at all? Business? No, okay. In that case, the meeting is now concluded. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Ta-ta.
Bye.